Conversations with Nicole. Let's talk about it. Tell me all about it. I'm here. I wanna know what's on your mind. Ooh, the world needs to hear from you, and I'm so glad to have a conversation to reach the nation. And it's all about you. We'll help each other to discover innovative ways to positively change the world. Let's talk about, let's talk about, yeah. Let's talk about conversations with Nicole.
Greetings, greetings. Happy Monday. Welcome to Conversations with Nicole. I am Nicole Everett, your host, and Conversations with Nicole is a talk show based in Tallahassee, Florida, focused on connecting the community through conversations. And today is what I like to call Mindset Monday, which is an opportunity for you and me to communicate with my guests on various sundry topics, which are mainly focused on mental health and wellness in Black and Brown communities, trying to encourage us to be our best selves by getting our checkup from the neck up and utilizing those coping skills that can assist us as well. And so today, my very special guest is Miss Naajiya Dodson. And we will be talking about how to build a healthy relationship with your emotions. How to build a healthy relationship with your emotions. Do you have a healthy relationship with your emotions? Maybe not. Because that's emotional regulation is something that maybe we learn as children, and sometimes we don't learn it so well. And so I think that's a lifelong journey, how to build a healthy relationship with your emotions. So I'm super excited and delighted that she is here. And I'm glad that you are here with us as well. But before I bring her on, I want to hear from you. Where are you tuning in from? We are live on Facebook, on YouTube, as well as on LinkedIn. And this is an interactive conversation. So we would love to hear your comments, your questions. They are very much so welcome. It has been an eclipse Monday. I don't know if any of you got to check out the eclipse. I did have some special glasses. I was kind of in motion while it was passing through our area. And I think here in the Tallahassee area, we were able to see about 75%, but you definitely had to have the special glasses in order to see it. So it was kind of cool to check all of that out. So my son who's in New York sent me a picture of what it looked like there, and it was a little strange looking, but at any rate, I know there was a lot of uh coverage and discussion about the eclipse. So if you got to see the eclipse today, let us know in the comments. I'm just curious, just for kicks and giggles, let us know. They said that the next one will be at least crossing across the US in about 20 years. So just in case we are not here 20 years from now, I did get to check it out a little bit today. All right. So I see you all, but nobody's commenting. So, but that's okay. We'll get you in a little bit. So I'm gonna go ahead and read some of Naajiya's bio. She is a certified transformational life coach with training in emotional focused coaching. She has 25 years of experience being devoted to self love and self care practices. In her work as a coach, she takes a spiritual approach to challenge you to find the courage and confidence to navigate your emotions and invite more love into your life. That sounds lovely. She is an advocate for self-care, healthy relationships, emotional wellness, and women's issues. Y'all help me welcome Naajiya Dodson. Yay!
Hi.
How are you? How are you?
I am wonderful. Thank you so much for having me
My
today.
pleasure, my pleasure, my pleasure. So tell us a little bit more about Naajiya, not what you do, because we talked a little bit about that, or I mentioned it some in your bio, but who are you in your own
Who,
words?
who am I in my own words? That's a great question. I am a compassionate, empathetic, loving young woman who enjoys connecting with other people. I enjoy creative activities. And I am very much a person who loves other people for sure. I'm also a passionate lover of life. So I think that's the best way for me to describe myself for sure.
Love all of that. All of that. So, what prompted you to get involved in this work?
That's a great question. So, for sure, I would say my own personal experiences. A lot of it was inspired by my family upbringing and
Mhm.
all of the challenges that I saw, in my family, and this confusion with, like how do you deal with emotions because they're so powerful, and it has such an impact on us in such a natural part of our everyday life. So I think for me, a lot of it was definitely inspired by, challenges dealing with, growing up in a family
Mhm.
and just being confused about like, how do I navigate these different relationships and how do I deal with all the emotions that were coming up. I had so many unique experiences growing up with grief and so many unique experiences with just challenging dynamics in my family. So for me, it was definitely just wanting to have healthier relationships because I remember being so confused as a child
Mhm.
about, my feelings. And it was just like there wasn't much conversation going on, there wasn't much education. And I just wanted to, have a deeper understanding of how to create those healthier connections.
Gotcha. Okay. And I think, you are probably not alone in that
Mhm.
of in terms of your experiences. I think many of us have maybe been challenged with not having someone to help us navigate those what's taking place and what our thoughts and feelings may be around what's taking place. So yeah, thank you for sharing that. All right, so I think I saw Peter. Peter is here in Tallahassee. Thank you for joining us, Peter. Listen, I see some of you all, and y'all are being quiet out there, and that's okay. I'm not gonna pressure you, but please like and share so that other folks can tune in and be part of this conversation. All right, there you go. There's my sister Shayla, who's down in South Florida. I'm gonna wish a happy early birthday to my nephew, Caden. I'm gonna give him a shout out. That is my sister Shayla's baby boy. He's turning 5 tomorrow. So happy birthday to you, Shay, because you gave birth to him almost 5 years ago. So sending lots of love to you and to him. All right, Tommy B. Greetings, my classmate. Thank you for being here. Appreciate you. All right, and I know others will be joining us, whenever they come on. It's cool. So let's dive in. So, how to build a healthy relationship with your emotions. So, I think, I had posted about a definition of emotions that I think it was I can't remember which entity, but I Googled it and the
Mhm.
definition that was given was emotions are conscious mental reactions such as anger or fear, subjectively experienced as strong feelings, usually directed towards a specific object and typically accompanied by physiological and behavioral changes in the body.
Mhm.
So I really kind of I looked at a few definitions, but that one kind of stuck with me
Mhm.
because I think it really speaks to that emotions are mental reactions, right? People talk about them feeling a certain way, but a feeling is really like a sensation in your body.
Right, right.
hmm And so I just wanted to kind of start there because, again, I think words make a difference. And sometimes we may think we're communicating and we're saying something and we know what it means, but maybe the receiver of what we're saying doesn't fully understand kind of where we're coming from. if that makes sense.
Right, right, absolutely. I do think that, that raises a great point because we do need to be able to distinguish the difference between, what we're thinking and what we're feeling. And I think that is a great way to begin creating a healthier relationship with your emotions is by recognizing that there does need to be this healthy, happy, harmonious marriage between the
Mm,
thoughts and the emotions. And I think a lot of the confusion that people do have is around, like how do you distinguish one versus the other? And you said it perfectly. When you're feeling something, that is a sensation that's happening in the body, and that is a very personal, experience. And when you're thinking something, we know that that's a mental process. But quite often, I think where people do get confused is not being able to distinguish the thoughts and stories that we have about those particular feelings. So it's
mhm,
like you're upset about something and you have these feelings about being upset. It's like, oh, I'm upset, but I feel like it's wrong to be upset. I'm embarrassed about the fact that I'm upset. I'm
mm,
ashamed about the fact, that I'm upset. So most of the time, what I've experienced is that the problem is usually not with our emotions themselves. It's usually the thoughts we have about the emotions. It's the stories that we're telling ourselves
yes.
about the emotions. So yeah, I mean, knowing how to really distinguish between the two and create a healthy, happy, harmonious marriage between both is really a great life skill for all of us to develop for sure.
Agreed. So let me pause. I see a couple of folks have joined us. Miss Tracy Golay, who says she saw the eclipse. Okay, wonderful, Tracy. Thank you for sharing that. And we have Miss Nancy O'Farrell, who is here in Tallahassee, and also the executive director of NAMI. Thank you for joining us, Nancy. Appreciate you commenting. All right, so I think again, what you just said about, thoughts and feelings, oftentimes or emotions, we kind of merge the two, and they are two different things, right? They may be running in tandem with one another, but they are two different things. And your thoughts absolutely control your emotions. Okay.
Mhm.
Which means that you can choose to emote or feel another way.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's absolutely correct. And I think it's important for people to understand that they do have the power to shift that. And I think this is where we could definitely use some support with, more education and becoming aware of the range of emotions that's available to us. Because
Mm.
I think quite often in our society, it's like we get stuck with this small range of emotions. It's like we're mad, sad, angry, and that's like, our entire range. But there's almost 200 different types of emotions that's available to us. And when we recognize that, it opens up an opportunity for us to really be more, I think, compassionate with ourselves because we can begin to recognize that sometimes the breakdowns and challenges that we can have within relationships are simply because we don't even recognize that there's such a range of emotions available. And we're trying to communicate something and express ourselves, but we're using like the same few emotions because we don't really have access to any other emotions available, which really creates a good opportunity for us to learn and to be more open and gentle with ourselves. And even seeing past relationships, sometimes when you go back you can look at how maybe a lack of understanding of emotions or how to access the range of emotions may have caused some breakdowns. You know what I'm saying? I think we all can relate to at least one experience where we've had a breakdown in relationship because of our challenges with emotions. So for sure, I do think that's a good opportunity for us to learn.
So I'm gonna ask you if you don't mind to share some of the expanded range of emotions, in terms of like, what some of those are. I'm gonna interject real quick. Had the opportunity of taking a nonviolent communication class that Dr. Cindy Bigby does, and
Mhm.
there are about maybe 8 kind of main topic emotions or
Hmm.
feelings. They I think they call it feelings. I don't think they call it emotions. But it's like, so say anger is one, but then
Hmm.
there's um irate, or um mad, or I mean,
Right.
there's like a whole range of, like you're saying, a whole range of things. And they're, while they fall under a larger category, there are different nuances to them.
Right, right, absolutely. So yeah, I mean that's a great example. So I would say, if you're working with anger, then something similar might be frustration. There's rage. There's disappointment, and I like what you mentioned about the fact that there's a different nuance. I mean, when you think about it, it's like there has to be a reason why they all have a different name, right? They all have a different name because they all have a different meaning and they all serve a different purpose.
Mhm,
And this is a great way for you to begin appreciating them
mhm.
and building a better relationship with them, because then you'll begin to recognize, okay, they do serve a purpose. Now, I do think there are different schools of thought on, how you can work with different emotions.
Mhm.
From the training that I have done, we have learned that there's a different purpose for each one. So for example, anger tells you something about your need for justice. You know what I'm saying? So it can motivate you to want justice for something because you believe that there was something wrong that was done. When we're dealing with disappointment, that can teach us a lot about our expectations.
Mm,
And we realize that, okay, I'm disappointed because I had an expectation, that expectation was not met. Now that I recognize that expectation was not met, I can be more grounded in reality and I can shift my expectations. And I think that's one of the ways that people begin to appreciate emotions and recognize, oh, they actually serve a purpose. Like, I'm not just feeling this way just to feel this way, and I don't have to just walk around being angry, but I could actually use this meaning to solve a problem, to make a choice,
yeah.
to make an important decision. And so, yeah, I think that's a great point.
Thank you for sharing that, because I think maybe we don't take time to ask ourselves why. It's like, I don't know if you've heard of this, where you like ask yourself why like 5 times until you get to the root of whatever it is. And so with what you said about anger, maybe there is this need for justice. You felt like you weren't treated fairly or what have you. So why is that? Like, really, like drilling down to where the injustice or the wrongdoing was. And was it really, or is it just your perception of what that is?
Yes.
Mhm.
Yeah, I think that actually helps us to find more effective ways to work with these emotions as well. And when you look at our society, it's like, I think if we learned healthier ways to work with emotions like that, it would definitely limit a lot of the violence that we have, because there's so much rage out there and people that are just being impulsive and reactive. It definitely can help us to be more effective, in that way. So, yeah, understanding the meaning and purpose is extremely valuable for us as a society.
Indeed. So I see that Ozzy has joined us. Thank you for being here, Ozzy. Ozzy's a clinician in Virginia Beach, Virginia. So appreciate you joining us tonight. All right. So I really want us to, I want the viewers, both live real time as well as the one that'll watch the replay, to really like feel what Naajiya is saying about these emotions, right? That we typically really only kind of deal with a small range of emotions, and that there are, she mentioned over 200 emotions. And that's a lot. That is a lot, right? And so it would behoove us, and I've seen some emotion sheets or feeling sheets that give us a list of what some of those emotions are. But I think it would behoove us to look into what they are and really have a better understanding, so we can know what it is we're going through, like what we're thinking. And is it rage, or is it disappointment, or is it really anger. Like, exactly what is it? Am I mad? Right.
Mhm.
Which is different from being disappointed or being enraged. So, like, really look at that and examine that.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. And I think again it helps us to have healthier relationships and connections with people because we react based on what we think we're feeling, but if we're not totally sure and we can't really name the actual emotion, then of course it becomes difficult for us to actually effectively connect with people and communicate with people. We blame people for things that we may not be needing to blame them for. We hold grudges towards people. We react in certain ways. So it's definitely helpful.
Indeed. I see Beverly has joined us. She's here in Tallahassee. She's actually an occupational therapist. Thank you for being here. Miss Princess, who is also here in Tallahassee. Thank you for joining us, Princess. All right. So, whew, I'm just thinking like that, emotions drive so much. And I don't know how many of you are familiar with the cognitive triangle, but basically it suggests that our thoughts control our emotions or feelings, which control our actions, right? And so if we want to change our actions, we got to change our thoughts, because those thoughts are going to turn into these emotions or feelings, which are going to, you know change could determine our actions. And we want our actions to be healthy. We want our actions to serve us well and not do us harm. The definition that I read earlier spoke about how the these emotions, which are conscious mental reactions, can specifically affect our physiological,
Mhm.
right? Affect our bodies. So if we are stressed or we interpret certain things as stress, it's going to directly affect our bodies.
Yes, for sure. And it can, turn into full blown, health conditions. And for some people, it can also create, that tension in your body. Of course, you
Mhm,
mentioned the stress, and that is very common in our society. And this is another reason why, it is helpful to move your body. The fitness and any type of movement, people don't really connect that with emotions, but
mhm,
it absolutely can be helpful because it allows that blood to flow and circulate. It allows oxygen to move as well through the body. So yes, there is definitely a connection between the two. And
mm,
we know that because when we're feeling a certain way, we experience those, physiological symptoms like when there's anxiety and whatnot. So absolutely there is a connection, and moving the body is one of those important things. That's one of the things that I actually love to do. I love dancing. And so that's a great way for people to also really get in touch with what they're actually feeling. Some kind of
absolutely.
physical movement.
Absolutely. All right. Tanisha has joined us. Thank you for being here, Tanisha. She is here in Tallahassee, and she said, yes, I get migraines when I am
Okay.
super stressed. Yes.
Mhm.
Thank you for sharing that, Tanisha. So Peter had a question. He wanted to know, out of the 200 or so emotions, which are the 10 mostly expressed emotions? Which 10 are mostly expressed?
That is a great question. I have not done any specific research to determine what are the 10 most expressed emotions. I think that most of us generally stay with, sad, mad, angry, frustrated. I think those are probably the most common ones.
Mhm.
Those are the most common ones that I see, in my day-to-day life and when I'm interacting and engaging with other people. So yeah.
Gotcha. Okay. So let's talk. We kind of touched on it a little bit, but let's talk a little bit about the consequences of ignoring your emotions.
Yeah, so I think for one, when you're consistently ignoring your emotions, it is going to make it very difficult for you to discover what it is that you need, in relationships. Because I do think that when you are feeling a certain emotion, it can teach you a lot about yourself. It can teach you a lot about, what you value, what's important to you. It can teach you a lot about yourself. So when you're ignoring what those emotions are, for one, it will make it difficult for you to actually be clear about what it is that you need when you're in relationships with other people.
Mhm.
Another consequence is that naturally it will create unhealthy ways of coping, because we naturally want to be able to express, what we're actually experiencing, and know how to again create that healthy connection between thoughts and emotions. And
Mhm.
so when we're not engaged in that process, naturally it creates these unhealthy coping mechanisms. And as we mentioned before, it can eventually lead to physical challenges in the body, because we know that it builds up tension and it creates stress. So for sure, we definitely want to get to a point where we can be more open and consistent with expressing what we're actually experiencing. So yeah.
Okay. So tension and stress. Um, what was the first one that you said?
I was saying that it makes it difficult for you to know what it is that what you need in relationships, and to be able to communicate that with other people.
Got it. Okay.
I think it also, can create confusion for you, because again, when you don't take the time to consistently process those emotions, it can create a lot of confusion, because you may not be clear about like what you're actually feeling. You
Mm.
may still be holding on to experiences from something that happened years ago, and it becomes again difficult for you to communicate effectively with other people. So I think most of the breakdown is really with the connections that we have with other people.
Yes. So with the connection with other people, and I think you kind of alluded to it when earlier in the conversation, sometimes we may hide our emotions uh, in fear of maybe that break in connection or relationship.
Yeah, can you repeat that? I didn't hear that
Sometimes
well.
we may hide our emotions due to fear of a break in the relationship or in the.
Oh, right, right.
Mhm.
Right, yeah, for sure. I think that it's, having that emotionally safe space is definitely important. I mean, I think there's a lot of reasons why people do hide. I think for the most part, most of us are trying to avoid some type of stress, like we just don't want to deal with the stress of someone else's response or reaction, or there's just not an emotionally safe space for us, or we generally just don't have the tools to express what it is that we want to say, and we're concerned that it may not come out the right way, or it
Mhm.
may, like you said, kind of create a breakdown in that particular relationship. So
Mhm.
a lot of that I think can be solved with education, and just people being given the skills and the tools to be able to navigate those experiences.
Yes. All right. Princess said that could be an exercise to identify the emotions you encounter daily. Agreed.
Yes, yes.
Is there an emotions journal? Have you heard of any such thing as that?
I have not. I've seen a few, emotional self-care journals, but I have not heard of one in particular that is really well known.
Okay.
But I do think that is an excellent exercise, what she mentioned. And when I was going through my training, that was something that I was doing for a while. And it was a quite interesting experience, because it took me time to really kind of sit back and assess what I really was feeling. And there were so many times where I had to sit back, and I had this book that I use, and I would just flip through the book to
Mhm.
check and see, what was really going on. And so you can learn a lot again about yourself when you go through this experience, because you begin to recognize, why you are doing what you're doing, and you'll also be able to make better choices. So I think that is absolutely an excellent point that she made. I love that.
Yes, thank you, Princess. All right, Sharice, my classmate, has joined us. She's in the Atlanta area. Thank you for being here. So we are right at about halfway through our conversation. So for those of you who are just joining us, I am on with Naajiya Dodson, and we are talking about how to build a healthy relationship with your emotions. We've talked about how we typically use a small range of emotions. There are maybe 200 plus emotions out there that we just don't kind of explore. As well as we talked about some things that we do, some of the results of if we ignore our emotions, what can happen. And so Peter asks, are there good emotions? And if so, which ones could those be?
I love that question because that's something that I actually wanted to mention.
Mhm.
And, again, it's all in perspective. And my perspective is that there are no such thing as good or bad emotions. And the reason why I say that is because, again, they all serve a purpose. It's common for us to consider happiness to be a good emotion and to consider grief to be a negative emotion because naturally it's a little bit more challenging and difficult to deal with. But
Mhm.
I don't take the perspective that there are good or bad emotions because they all serve a unique purpose. And I don't know if you've ever heard this metaphor about fear, where, we talk a lot about fear because it's such a powerful, it's so powerful for us and we all have experience with it. But, you know, we talk about like getting rid of the fear and managing fear. And, we just talk about it like it's just this terrible thing.
Mhm.
But in reality, if you were walking down the street and there was a dog chasing you, it would not be appropriate for you to, or helpful rather, for you to be operating in the emotion of joy, right? You don't want to be overconfident and happy when a dog is chasing you down the road. Fear would be the appropriate emotion. It would be the best emotion for you at that time because it's going to let you know that, hey, this is dangerous. I need to make a decision so
Mhm.
that I can be safe. I need to make a decision that leads to safety. So all of the emotions do serve a purpose. I just think that some of them are a little bit more challenging to deal with than others naturally,
Mhm.
because they feel different for us. But I definitely, have an appreciation for all of them. So
Right.
yes, thank you. I like that question.
Yes, yes, ma'am. All right. Miss Carter has joined us. Thank you for being here. Appreciate you. She's here in Tallahassee. And Beverly says sometimes it helps to call out the emotion that you want to feel and practice it regularly, especially if some people get in the habit of reacting and feeling negatively.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with that. I love that as well. I
Mm.
think that it also helps us to see that our emotions can be very helpful for us, that they are not just there, as these annoying things for us to deal with, but they actually can help us as well. Because, of course, we have those emotions that we really enjoy, like optimism and enthusiasm and, confidence. For sure. I do think that is a great point. And I also think that when you want to operate in a different emotion, it is helpful to still acknowledge what you're currently experiencing because it can be difficult sometimes to just jump from, like if there's some anxiety and you want to be confident, it's not always easy to just jump from anxiety to confidence. Maybe you need to go to courage first and then we get to confidence. But for sure, I do think it's helpful to be mindful of that because it assists us with our communication as well. So that's a great point.
It is. It is. Thank you for sharing that. All right. Marlene has just joined us down in South Florida. Appreciate you being here. My girlfriend Susan in Virginia is also with us. Thank you for joining us. So I like your comment about there being no such thing as good or bad emotions because I have thought that as well. We think about things being good or bad, positive or negative, and I think again, it's our perspective about it. And, you know, they all serve their purpose for kind of whatever our experiences are. And so if we can kind of slow things down real time and recognize that, what a change would, there would be in our lives. So I'm real grateful for us having that conversation around quote unquote good and bad emotions, just for us to maybe rethink and reframe um that way of thinking, right?
Yes, yes, absolutely. And I think that's probably one of the most important points for, forming a healthier relationship, because one of the reasons again why we run away from them, I think, is because naturally when we open up the discussion on emotions, I think it's natural for us to begin to think about all of the most challenging experiences that we've had. The grief that we've experienced, the betrayal that we've experienced. We naturally, when we think about emotions, we think about everything that has made life difficult for us. But we
Hmm.
totally forget that, we've experienced some joy, we've experienced some optimism, we've experienced a range of emotions throughout this entire, human experience. But we tend to kind of just focus on the more challenging ones. So, yeah, I mean, that's what makes life so interesting and so amazing. One of the things that makes life so interesting. So, yeah, for sure.
So what would you say about someone who ignores or hides, and I'm using those words interchangeably, ignores their emotions or hides from their emotions because they don't want to feel, because they don't want the physiological effects that come um, as a result of the thoughts and the emotions. They just aren't interested in feeling.
What would I say to them?
What would you say about that?
Well, the first thing that I would say is that, when you don't allow yourself to feel, then you won't be able to get the wisdom and the lesson that those emotions are there to teach you about yourself. And that makes it difficult
Okay.
again for you to kind of make decisions in your life. It makes it difficult for you to really understand more about yourself, because the experience you have with emotions is very personal. Like you feel a certain way because of what's important to you. When you cry, for example, or you're experiencing grief, it tells us that there was something that you cared about. That's the reason why you can cry about something, but this person next to you is not crying. And so you're missing out on the opportunity
Mhm.
to learn that lesson and to gain that wisdom and to also understand, like, okay, this is what's important to me. So I would say that we don't really need to be afraid of feeling things. It's usually not the emotions that give us the problems. It's the thoughts we have about them and the stories that we're telling ourselves about them. So I would encourage anyone who is experiencing that to remember that there's a lesson here, that there's wisdom here, and there is an opportunity for you to learn more about yourself in that moment.
Very well said. Thank you for sharing that. And Miss
Yeah.
Carter said, so true. So true, so true. Yes. She is a clinician here in Tallahassee, in the Tallahassee area. So, oh, that's heavy. I don't know if you all are feeling it the way I am in terms of her talking about the thoughts that we have about these emotions, but that there are lessons in us feeling. There is wisdom to be gained. So don't be fearful of that. Don't try to avoid that. Like walk through it. You can do it, right?
Yes, yes, for
Mhm,
sure.
mhm. Because it's gonna help you get in touch with yourself, which is gonna help you to relate with others.
Absolutely. Yes.
Mhm,
Yeah, I think it creates healthier connections, because you can be more honest and authentic about who you really are and, what's really important to you. And, you can then more effectively communicate with other people. So
mm.
yes, for sure.
Mm-hmm. Indeed. All right. Peter asked the question, can you build a healthy relationship without emotions?
Can you build a healthy relationship without emotions? I would say no, because are you referring to a like a relationship with another person? I'm not exactly certain if that's what you're asking, if you can build a healthy relationship with another person or
So, if you don't mind, Peter, can you provide some more clarity, please, in the comments? I would say just from the offset, I would agree with you as well that you cannot. Um, he said in general. So, w- I mean, what other relationships are there? I mean, outside of maybe with a pet. So, or
in
your,
general.
yeah,
Okay.
your relationship with what money, your relationship with what food, what are we talking about? All right, Tanisha said, I don't think so, and that's romantic or platonic relationships.
Yeah, so I mean, emotions are always going to be a part of the mix. We can't really get rid of them. We can ignore them, we can hide from them, we can pretend that they don't exist, but they're not going anywhere. They motivate us to act in ways, or they are going to prevent us from taking certain actions. So it's going to be difficult when you can't really acknowledge them.
All right, he said professional or with each other, which in my thought is, which is the same thing Tanisha said, which would be platonic relationships would be professional or each other would be romantic or family, So again, just dealing with people, human beings, right?
Yeah,
Mm,
yeah, for sure. Yeah,
yeah.
it's definitely an important part of developing people skills for sure with
Mm,
anybody.
yes, indeed. All right, we got a few more people that have joined us. Miss Kiosha, thank you for being here, who is here in Tally, and Miss Pumpkin, who is also here in Tally. Thank you for joining us. And Beverly said, good conversation. Thank you, Beverly. So, again, for those who are just joining us, we're talking about how to build a healthy relationship with your emotions. And just as a frame of reference, when we talking about emotions, the definition that we've been kind of building our foundation on is that emotions are conscious mental reactions subjectively experienced as strong feelings, usually towards a specific object and typically accompanied by physiological and behavioral changes in the body. That's what we're talking about. And so we have discussed, and I'm taking notes, all right? We have discussed hiding emotions, the consequences of ignoring your emotions, and that emotions, there are many emotions, more than 200. We kind of use a small range of them. It would behoove us to explore what some of those emotions are so we can really be in touch with what's going on with us and how we can communicate that with others. And maybe even help others identify what's going on with them. One of the things I told you, you all, that I had taken this nonviolent communication class, and part of it, it's about empathy, is a great part of it, but a part of it is like guessing what people are needing. It's like a
Mm,
needs guess. And the point of that is not to necessarily be right, but really to get the person to kind of think about what they're needing in that moment of anger or
mm,
frustration or disappointment or sadness or what have you. You know, I'm thinking you may need some compassion, or you may need some
mm,
grace, or you may need some ease or some connection. And so I really enjoy that, because I think it really gets the person to kind of figure out what's going on inside of them. Like, what are their thoughts? What are their emotions? What are they physically feeling? And how maybe they can shift and that need be met, shift
mm.
their thoughts such that that need is met. And so this is rich. I really enjoyed it. Mrs. Potter just joined us down in South Florida. Thank you for joining us, Miss P. Appreciate you being here. So, as we are drawing near to the end of our discussion, I would really like you to talk about I guess some other maybe key points that we have not discussed in terms of how to build that healthy relationship with your emotions. Anything that we have not discussed that you think might be key to assist
Yes.
us with that.
Yes. Okay. So one of the points that I wanted to mention is that it's really important to let go of the judgment that you have towards what you're feeling, because one of the things that I've seen often is that we get confused about what we're feeling because we have a certain emotional experience, and then we have shame around that experience. And so we're confused about how we feel because we're allowing society to tell us how we feel.
Mhm.
If society has decided that we should be ashamed of, being someone who chooses not to have children, then we walk around feeling ashamed about the fact that we don't want to have children. And you cannot really allow society to tell you how you feel. Our
Mm.
society can influence how we think, and our society can shape and condition how we think, but they
Yes.
can't really tell us how we feel. And so I think we get confused about how, what emotions we are experiencing, because again, it's like we have our own personal experience, but then it's like, oh, well, it's not okay for me to feel that way. Society told me it's not okay. Or my family said that it's not okay. So I should be embarrassed about feeling this. And then you don't allow yourself to actually explore what that truth is for you. So letting go of that judgment, I think, is really key for a lot of people, because then you cannot get to, again, the lesson that we talked about before.
Yeah.
And it will eliminate a lot of confusion for people when there's shame about how you feel, or embarrassment about how you feel, or,
Mhm.
frustration, whatever it is about, what you're feeling. So I think that's a big thing for a lot of people, is to be able to distinguish between the two.
Mm.
And I think we also mentioned that we did mention the importance of, oh, the other thing I did want to mention was that it's also very important for us to just simply take ownership of our emotional experiences. And what that means is that just recognizing that the emotion that we're dealing with, again, is very personal and unique to us. Quite
Mhm.
often we will feel a certain way and then we blame someone else for it, and we'll say, oh, this person made me feel that way. But really and truly, it's a personal experience that we're having. And when you recognize that, you can start taking responsibility for that. Again, it allows you to kind of communicate what you need, and it allows you to communicate what's important to you. And it just helps you to be in more functional relationships with other people. So letting go of judgment and taking ownership of your emotions, being
Mhm.
responsible for what it is that you're feeling, being able to identify that so that you can then effectively communicate with other people, will help all of us to really be in more functional, healthy relationships. So,
Indeed. Tommy had a comment. He said, I always say that if you want to know what's true for you, look at how it makes you feel. Then ask yourself why you have those feelings and are they empowering or negative?
absolutely,
Mm-hmm. Indeed.
absolutely, and that's another good point that that he mentioned, because it kind of goes back to what you were saying earlier about how we can shift with our emotions. You kind of have to ask yourself as well, when I am taking on this particular way of being, is this helpful for me? Because I don't have to continue functioning in anger. If I
Mm,
don't want to, I can make a different choice. And
yes.
we do have the power to do that. So that's important for people to know.
Mm, we do. Thank you for sharing that, Tommy. Brittany said, once I started to remind myself of who God made me and who He said I am, I started to overcome self sabotage. I used to beat myself down a lot. Wow. Yeah, Brittany, I think, you are not alone in that in terms of like the things that we tell ourselves, like you mentioned, you know, the thoughts, the stories that we tell ourselves in our minds about ourselves, that negative self talk can really do a number on us. And so, as you stated, let go of the judgment, the feelings of shame and that sort of thing. Especially around things that are not really shameful. Like
Mhm.
the example you gave in terms of if you don't want to have children, it's not anything to be ashamed of. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? It's a choice. So, yeah, thank you for sharing that. I appreciate that. Um, you said something. Oh, taking ownership of your emotions and being responsible. I think
Mhm.
that's also very key because a lot of times people can put their emotions off on somebody else.
Right.
Again, with the whole somebody made me feel. No, you chose that feeling or emotion based on your thoughts about whatever was done or said. All right.
Right.
And so you
Right.
can choose something else. You can choose
Absolutely.
something else. You do not have to choose to think that way. You do not have to choose to emote that way, feel that way. You can choose something else. Don't get me wrong. I'm not professing that it is easy, especially with full grown people who have been used to behaving in a particular way, right? Who have been used to thinking a particular way, who have been used to feeling a particular way. I'm not telling you at 30, 40, 50 years old, it's going to be easy. 70, 80 years old, because some of us on here are in our 80s, that it's going to be easy, but you can do it. Okay.
Mhm.
It's possible.
Yeah.
All
Yeah,
right.
for sure. And I think I also wanted to mention to people that it's important for us to just be open to the idea that there's still so much more for us to learn. As a society, most of us are really not given, the tools to be able to get support with our emotions. And so it will help us to just, like I said before, be more compassionate with ourselves when we recognize that we still have a lot more to learn. Sometimes the breakdowns in relationships that you had with people were because of the challenges you had with understanding how to express emotion and how to work with emotion. And I see often, a lot of relationship experts will talk about the importance of communication in relationships, and that's absolutely true. But
Mhm.
what actually causes the challenges with that communication? It's probably the emotion behind the communication. It's like you wanted to express something, but it didn't come out the right way, or you said something and you find yourself having to apologize later. And you're like, oh, that's not what I really meant to say. And we are struggling with getting these words out, expressing these words because we're not dealing with the emotions around them.
Mm,
And so it is important for us to recognize how that plays a role, and that there's still an opportunity for us to begin to become more emotionally literate, become more aware of how we express ourselves, and recognize that we can be a little bit more compassionate with ourselves because we still have more to learn as a society. There's not, I don't think, one particular group of people that I think have mastered this in our society. I think we all collectively could definitely use more help in that area. So yeah.
absolutely, absolutely. I call that deprogramming and reprogramming.
Yes, for sure.
Mhm.
Sure.
So
So,
Tanisha said there's a lot we have to learn and also unlearn. Exactly, exactly, exactly. And Princess said, I love this. Such great techniques to improve on. And thank you both. Great topic. Oh, thank you, Princess. Appreciate that so much.
thank
All
you.
right. So I'm again under my notes, ways to have healthy relationships, let go of judgment and feelings of shame, which would eliminate confusion, embarrassment. Two, take ownership in your emotions and be responsible about your experiences. Right?
Hmm.
Mm-hmm.
And you had one more? I
Did I miss one? Is there something else?
was I was gonna mention, like letting go of the idea that there's good and bad emotions, because
Yes.
they're all valuable and helpful to us in different ways.
All right. Got it. I had that down, but not under this particular list, but I got it.
Okay.
Okay. All right. Anything else?
I think that's mostly it. Did anyone else have any questions? I think we pretty much touched on everything.
Let me see. All right. Miss Brittany said, I grew up being told to control your emotions, and which caused me to reach suicidal thoughts and attempts. I learned that it's not the emotions, it's the actions after the emotions. It's okay to feel. Brittany, you have hit the nail right on the head, which is kind of what I was getting at earlier. So one, thank you for sharing and being transparent and vulnerable here on this live. Again, this is a safe space for us to communicate with one another. But really, you're speaking to the heart of what I was trying to get at with my question to you earlier, um, Naajiya, around people who are afraid to feel, around people who, just don't want to go through that. And maybe sometimes to stop the feelings, to stop the emotions, to stop the thoughts, there may be suicidal ideations, you know, or they may, which my moment of transparency is suppress all of what they deem as negative emotions, such that they don't deal with them, right? So they don't cry for months or years, and then their cup overflows because they've been pressing it down and pressing it down and pressing it down, but it's gonna come up. Those
Mhm.
emotions are sure enough gonna come up, right? And at the most unopportune time, okay? While you are giving a presentation or in the car filled with people or on the bus or whatever, it's gonna come up. So you gotta deal with them. You gotta allow yourselves to go through them. Like, what has already been stated, which is they teach you lessons, they help you gain wisdom. And it's not so much the emotions, but it's the thoughts about the emotions,
Mhm.
that we have that cause the emotions. So again, Brittany, thank you for sharing that. All right, Miss Candace has joined us as well as Paula Monique. Thank you for being here. She said greetings and peace. And Candace agrees, so true. So wow, this has been really good because I'm gonna tell y'all this is an area of growth for me. I'm gonna be quite honest with you because as I just stated, like I am a glass half full type of girl, meaning that I try to look on the bright side of everything. And sometimes it's those emotions that I have labeled as bad or negative, and I don't deal with that all that often. Like I don't take time to really deal with it. I'm getting better, but um, a lot of times for me, I suppress those things. So, that's not healthy. That is not. So don't do like me. Have a healthy relationship with your emotions that you may deem as negative or that you may feel like you don't want to deal with because you're gonna be crying or you're gonna be in your, feeling out of sorts, if you will. It's okay. It's okay. It's okay. It's okay. Audrey, she said it's great we're having the conversation. Thank you, Audrey. Appreciate you being here. Princess said I had to learn how to not suppress my emotions, especially with childhood trauma. Yes, it's my way of coping with my emotions, indeed. And I think a lot of us have experienced that. And I'm going to just throw this out here, especially African Americans, especially Black folks in America. And I think part of that is because of the strength that we have been told that we had to exhibit. We could not show signs of weakness. We could not, appear to be emotional or whiny or crying or anything else. Is those feelings we were told to suck up and to just
Mhm.
deal with it because life went on and we had to keep living and doing whatever we had to do. So I think, again, Princess, thank you for sharing this, but I think childhood trauma, which could be the whole idea of not being able to give space to your emotions, wherever they are. So, I'm sending lots of love and positive vibes and energy and healing to those of us who that is our experience, and we weren't able to do that at the time. Alethea has joined us. Thank you for being here. She said, I definitely have often compartmentalized certain feelings and suppressed emotions that surface at the most inopportune times. Yes, I have done that as well. So may we heal from that. I'm putting it out.
Yes,
May,
yes,
may we heal from that. May we do
yes.
better. May we do better. May we do better. So, whew, all right. So I want to give an opportunity for you to please, Naajiya, give some closing remarks and tell folks how they can connect with you.
Yes, thank you. So I just want to say that first of all, thank you for having me. I enjoy being here. I think this is a really important conversation because all of us could absolutely utilize, this as a way to just be more happy and content and have healthier connections in our society. So I do hope that people do walk away with a different perspective and hopefully just open up to the importance of really being able to appreciate how your emotions can help you. So people can reach me by visiting my website, naajiyainspires.com. I generally offer workshops. A lot of my work is around awareness and education. So it's mostly workshops. I combine a mixture of emotion focused coaching, which really focuses more so on the life skill aspect of working with emotions, along with different types of creative activities to kind of give people an experience of their emotions. And again, offering that awareness and that education. So you can also find me on Instagram at Naajiya Inspires, Facebook, Naajiya Dodson. You probably will have to write it down because I know you may not remember how to spell my name. But if you check out my website, you can join my mailing list and you'll find out about any workshops that I'll be doing online as well as in the local neighborhoods as well. So thank you guys so much for having me. I enjoyed the questions. You guys had some great questions and great interaction.
Indeed, indeed. Well, thank you again for being here. Appreciate you so much. So I definitely have been getting comments. So folks are saying, thankful for this platform, beautiful resource and tool to help heal. Amen. I appreciate you. Sharice, I've learned through many therapy sessions not to suppress my feelings, but I've also learned not to allow others to put their emotions on me as well. Yes. Very important. Very, very important. Princess, yes, healing power for everyone. Yes. Thank you, Princess. Candace, my daughters taught me to
Mhm.
give space to your emotions because I had to do that for them. Yes, beautiful lessons. Thank you for sharing that. And Shanovia, may we heal from that. Amen. I appreciate that. So I hope you all have found this to be beneficial, this conversation. Let's definitely keep this going. If you did find it beneficial, like it, share it, tag somebody, somebody that you think would benefit from it. I think we could talk a whole nother 10 hours on this. I mean, seriously, because we just don't talk about it enough. And we need to. As a community, we need to. So, encouraging us to keep this conversation going. For those of you who were new to the platform, I invite you to subscribe to the Conversations with Nicole YouTube channel. We are live here on Mondays and Wednesdays at 8:30 p.m. and the focus is on mental health and wellness in Black and Brown communities specifically. For my people in Tallahassee, the Mental Health Council of the Big Men is hosting its 5th annual, yes, I said 5th annual, Be Kind to Your Mind Mental Health Expo, which will be taking place on Thursday, May 16th at Walker Ford Community Center. Our focus is going to be on movement this year. So we'll have Zumba by Chocolate Wasted Fitness. We'll have yoga, both standing and chair yoga. We'll have activities for the youth. We'll have dinner. DJ Demp will be our DJ. We'll have some line dancing, and vendors. So it's free and open to the public. I posted it on my page. I'll be posting it here on out. We would like folks to register, but again, it is absolutely free. So the entire community is invited to come out to that event, and that is in honor of Mental Health Awareness Month, which is the month of May. So again, Thursday, May 16th, 5:30 p.m. at Walker Ford Community Center in the gymnasium. All right, I said it. Woo. Okay, good people. Thank y'all for tuning in. Hopefully, we'll see you on Wednesday. Let me see who my guest is on Wednesday. Oh, Sister Naomi Simon out of Port St. Lucie area. We're talking about handling rejection. Handling rejection. That is our topic. All right, y'all have a great rest of the evening, and we'll see you next time. Bye.